great war comes as we know it must. And the government says it's time for every citizen to go and fight to the death.
Welcome back to Tactics Talk with Guido. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate your support of the channel in whatever format it comes in. At the replay of the week for you today, it looks like we've got an innocent bystander once again from the clan Simp. He's driving his Tier 10 FV215 Bravo, a Tier 10 British heavy tank. Now this tank is about to be removed. Actually, that's not exactly true. It's not going to be removed, but it will no longer be the end of the line for the British heavy tanks. They're going to swap that out for what they're calling the Super Conqueror. But right now this is the tank that's at the end. If you have this tank in your garage, when they do the swap, you'll get a Super Conqueror and you'll keep this tank as what they call a special vehicle. If you're still grinding to it, then you will no longer see the FV215b unless it's offered in some kind of special way later on. And although they don't do that much with Tier 10s, you never know. So he ground through the Conqueror, or up to this tank through the Conqueror, the Tier 9 Conqueror, and everything below it because he wanted to have this in his garage. I actually played with him a couple times while he was grinding that. You may remember that he has the video a few days ago, maybe a week or so at this point, where he dropped 5,000 damage in his stock Conqueror, or stock gun, not exactly stock. So we'll go ahead and get started right here as we look at the countdown. And it's unfortunate that they're removing this map. You'll see that he says good maps Kappa. So good job, Innocent. About to have a really great game, and he's whining about the map. And since I'm already off track, we'll also notice that he is running around naked without his camo. So we need to start a charity for an innocent bystander. We'll call it Camo for Innocence. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, for only 32 cents a day, you can clothe an innocent bystander in the appropriate camo for his tank. I was talking about it's unfortunate that they're removing this tank because it's actually a unique tank. You'll notice that it is a rear turreted tank, which makes it in some cases a little bit unwieldy. And because of the way this game is played, the maps are set up, that can more often be a disadvantage than it's an advantage. However, for a good player who knows how to turn it into an advantage in all the right situations, it is an extremely good setup. We will watch how Innocent figures that out. You can see us here on Pilsen, and this is one of the spots where this tank shines. You got this little rubble pile, he can back out. So you'll notice that as he backs out here, he's exposing a lot less of his tank. Because it is rear turreted, he only has to bring so much of his tank out. So he's only really showing a lot of side, virtually nothing to very little of the front of the tank. It's hard to track him when they do that, or harder to track him when he does that. And it is an advantage of the FV. So you'll see that he takes up this pretty standard position from the north spawn, and he's just waiting for the first customer to show up. Does quite a bit of maneuvering around. He wants to get it exactly where he wants it. And he's just waiting for some unfortunate individual. You also notice that the tank is relatively fast. I'll show you what he's doing. Sorry about that. The tank is relatively fast, so in this case he can get here pretty reliably and be the first guy on that corner. And here comes a mouse, so no reason to push in there. And watch what he does to this mouse. He switches to gold, so he's got the pen to go through the face of the turret. And the mouse is doing an awful job of side scraping. In fact, if he'd have just turned his turret a little bit, all this damage that Innocent's about to drop on him wouldn't have happened. You'll see there that he takes the guy that's further out on echelon. He says, "Thank you very much, Rev. I'll just take that since you exposed yourself." There's that turret face that he's not angling enough. With the gold, it's just going to blap right through it. And this mouse is more than likely going to be very irritated by the end of this battle. He gets a shot on him, so it is not impervious to being pinned, but he's minimizing his exposure as much as possible, and that's a huge theme in this game. Ouch, did not notice the T10. In fact, I was surprised during the replay that it was there. Tries to go for the front sprocket, nice try, but the JT survives that. And now they're getting pushed a little bit down in here. His team is kind of in the back. Things are looking a bit grim. That is a nice aimed shot on the center of that view bar. The two edges of it are not hitboxes, but the middle is. There's another shot sniped right on it, which is now bringing up one of the other strengths of this tank, and that is its accuracy. Look how small that circle is. I mean, it's a close range, but holy cow, the circle barely moves. It's a very, very accurate gun, and it fires fast. Now, you're not dropping a lot of alpha. Look at that. A drive-by turret snipe. Nicely done. Doesn't have a lot of good options here, so you're just going to accept getting up on this thing's side. Aims down into the side of the thing. Puts another shot into him. Is able to make the mouths miss or bounce. And now he's just, again, another snipe in the middle of a brawl right on the face of that turret. So the mobility, you saw that there. The accuracy, you saw that there. And working around the rear turreted design. He's got to watch this 5120 because as fast as he reloads and fires, 5120, if reloaded, can give him trouble. Nearly gets him dead and then takes a hit from the WZ. Wisely backs out. So you'll notice that he spent a lot of time kind of going backwards in these brawling fights here. And he is working the side scraping capability of this tank. Ultimately, what does it mean? Like you do in any tank, minimizing exposure and making good trades, or as good trades as you can. The JT unwisely pushes in. See, this game is still in the balance. But Innocent has dropped 5,000 damage. Thought that actually might kill him, but he ends up living. He dies to the Foch B. Maybe. Second shot takes him down. Unsure why the 51B and the WZ didn't push Innocent right there. May have been a reload issue with the 5120. Unsure, but they really had an opportunity to work on him, which they did not take. Maybe the only thing that was even kind of bad was headed off here. He's going to take a right turn, I believe, initially. Yeah, I think he's thinking about the bat chat, but the bat chat dies. Good thought, though. You really don't want that thing back there messing with you while you're trying to take on the guys in front of you. And Innocent now heads down the alleyway right here. This game looks pretty well in hand. It would take a little bit of effort for the enemy team and some bad luck probably for them to start pulling this out. So Innocent trucks down here and decides to go by the door, ignore the WZ for the moment, and go into the back here. Which brings up a good point. Once he sees what he sees here, you see that he's at 5,746 damage. And the thing about really big damage games is there's usually something that happens that allows a bit of farming. It can be simply your skill and the stupidity of the enemy team, but you'll see that here, and you'll just see the great accuracy of that gun. You'll see here that it's an AFK T-34, so while he's at 6,100, which is a pretty amazing amount, especially considering the alpha of that gun and how many shots it takes to get there, he finds somebody to farm. Now you'll notice that he tracked that T-34 twice. There's two reasons for that. Number one is if it wakes up, it will already be tracked and should not start moving around until he fixes the track. And number two, if artillery happens to hit it, then he gets assist damage as well. So if you can track him and damage him, then that is always recommended. And now he just auto-aims because the accuracy of this gun is amazing and blasts it. You'll notice that he waited for his gun to go through that little bar right there, and you'll see the gun, at least the aiming symbology dove down. So you got to watch for that. It was still aimed at the guy, but if you want to make sure that everything's copacetic, make sure your gun is past any debris or cars or walls or whatever. Now sometimes you just want to shoot through that stuff. There are reasons to do that. But that was a very controlled situation right there, no requirement to do so, so he waited for it to go by and took him down. And there goes the 50M. So, an Innocent Bystander with a spectacular game in his FV215 Bravo, looking at 7,119, 1,860 blocked, and 128 assisted in there. And just a great example of using the accuracy of the gun, using the mobility of the tank, and then working around the kind of unfamiliar and strange rear turret design, and in fact leveraging that into a strength because of the place he decided to fight and how he fought it. Nice job, Innocent. Appreciate you for sending that in. That is a replay of the week. As always, I do appreciate your channel. If you have a replay that you think was pretty spectacular or pretty funny, or you want a replay analysis, feel free to send it in to me through Game PM. Otherwise, as always, I will leave you with, we will see ya.